Hey everyone, once again it's been ages since our last video. The summer has been absolutely torrid, so just too hot to do anything really with the dogs, and as a result that's meant no dog footage. So this is something a bit different. Sorry, I'm wandering around the house because this is a bit kind of impromptu, but I want to do a whole video series on it, and I just want to kind of get it kicked off really kind of as early as possible. So as the video description kind of suggests, we are planning on taking ourselves and our dogs and our van over to Scandinavia next year for something like a 20-day trip, which is not a huge amount of time considering the distance we've got to travel, but it's big birthdays for us both next year. I'm not sure if you've met Catherine yet on the channel, but she'll be around at some point during this whole endeavour. Hi Nanook! You always get funny faces from them when you least expect it. So yeah, big birthdays for us both next year, and we want to celebrate it by a big road trip. We've done various parts of the UK over time and not really documented it because they were just holidays, and you know, we didn't want to be kind of confined to using the camera all the time. However, this one is so big, I think it'd be ridiculous not to document the whole thing, and whether that's for the advantage of you guys watching, or for ourselves later on, or just for family to cope with, whatever it is, we just, you know, I think it's a good idea to, I'm gonna switch hands there for a minute, to document the whole process, because it's such a big thing and such a long way, and so radically different to what we normally do. It's just got to happen. So the first shout is we need help determining specifically where and why to go to a few places. So the ideal really is, at the minute, we'll go through a bit of a kind of a tour, hopeful tour itinerary, but like I would love to be able to get from the UK into France and then all the way up through Europe into Denmark and across the bridge, the name of which I forget at the minute, but it's the big spectacular crossing into Sweden. I'm going to do a bit of time in Norway from the reading I've done so far. Sorry, I'm going to spend a bit of time in Denmark. From the reading I've done so far, it looks like Denmark might not be the most kind of dog camping savvy place. There's definitely places that we're going to have to stay there, but it sounds like the rest of Scandinavia is much more accommodating to the sort of thing we want to do. So as a result, it's going to be very much at this point, unless someone can correct me and tell me some great places to go, we're considering that more kind of the first or second day stopover, and just a layover before we get to Sweden. So once we get into Denmark's in Scandinavia. Once we get into the more northern Scandinavian countries, we are thinking of trying to do a one-directional loop. At the minute, I'm thinking clockwise into Sweden, straight into Norway, up as far as we're kind of willing to go, and then diving back across. I would love to make that so high up that we could come across into Finland, but the mileage at the minute, from what I've seen, just looks too high. I've seen the odd ferry crossing that we can do, but I'm not sure on times and kind of the duration of the ferry and whether that's going to be compatible with the dogs or not, and how often those sorts of ferries run, especially at the time of year. We are thinking late winter, basically early spring. Well, it will be spring, so April, late April next year, I think, is the plan. That's also liable to change. It's just an initial idea. So that's the overview. Anyone that's been to Scandinavia, anyone that lives in Scandinavia, anyone that's, you know, or even just toured, France isn't too much problem because you've not been there for very long. France, Belgium, Germany, and France, Belgium, Germany, Denmark? Have I missed a country out? Netherlands. But yeah, so they're the connecting countries. If there's anywhere that you think we should stay or visit that's on that northern ridge of Europe, It's basically going to be following the coast all the way through until we get to Denmark. I guess the Netherlands will go inland a bit. If you've got any recommendations where to stay there as a good layover, do it. Any recommendations what we need to prepare for before we get to Scandinavia, again, do it. I know that the cost of living up there is very high, so we should do as much food shopping and prep in Europe as we can. Something to consider, but obviously 20 days we're not going to be able to do all of it, so so yeah, that's that part. For those of you who haven't seen any of our other videos, I'm going to do a quick rundown of the dogs. So I'll put my screen around. This is Saskia. Saskia's our oldest girlie. Well, she's our only girlie and our oldest dog. We're not entirely sure how old are you, Sas? We're thinking like 8 or 9 at this point, I think. But she's lovely, aren't you? Hey, sweetie. What's up? My belly rub. Okay, I'll give you a belly rub. Okay, then Nanook, who we saw earlier, maybe will give us another little face. Nanook's the youngest, and we actually think he's a crossbreed. Well, we're fairly certain he's a crossbreed, but he's mainly husky, so he gets to keep the moniker of that. And then finally, do excuse the very fluffy carpet. Look at that. Look what they leave on the floor, and that's just a tiny example. It's absolutely all over the place. This has been hoovered relatively recently as well. Oh, am I talking? Am I talking? Am I talking to Nanook? Am I talking to Nanook? So easy. And then here we have Kimi, named after the Finnish racing driver. So taking Kimi to Finland would be, yeah, it would be nice, just for that reason. So Kimi's obviously Nanook's the youngest, Saskia's the oldest, so Kimi's in the middle. Nanook is, how old are you, Nanook? You are 4. Kimi is 5. What's up, Sas? Yeah, Kimi is 5. He's the biggest of the bunch, and oh, look at that head, it's so sleepy. Anyone would think you've been out today. You've not been out yet. But there we go. That little bing in the background means that I'm wanted for something at work, so I better go and do that. So these are the dogs, and in a second we'll give you a little tour of the van. So I'm in the van with the new hat on, and I'll be honest, I don't want to go into too much straight detail about the van right now. There's too many things to go through, kind of current modifications to the van, upcoming modifications to the van, and then possible future wants for this trip. And they all need their own video, obviously. So quick rundown, it's a 2017 Volkswagen Transporter T6. It's a long wheelbase, so we've got that little bit of extra room which we need, obviously because we've got the dogs in as well. 150 brake horsepower model, drives phenomenally. We've done about 12,000 miles in it in the last year, including a 1,000-mile trip just last week over to the Belgian Grand Prix. Team hats still in the cab just behind me, which need to be taken out. So you know, it's just 2 seats up front because we just do 2-person touring, and if you look in the back you can see the existing dog crates. They take up a hell of a lot of room, and but you know, they need the space. Will they be changed before the trip? I don't know. If anyone's got any better layout ideas once the full video for the van tour comes out, love to hear them. But at the minute, I don't think they'll change. I made them myself. I know how they're put together. I know how they're measured up, and I know how to repair them if something goes wrong. So I'm kind of erring on the side of caution with those, and think maybe we should leave it as is. This view's not very good, is it? Can we get a better? Anything better? Go from that side. You see the other chair. So we're in the van. Any questions about the van, go ahead, and I'm going to do, let's say, a full video later about everything to do with the van in principle. What I would like to know from you now, though, is all those bits of information that we need to get the trip going. So welcome back to the office. Or well, you've not been in the office yet, but you've been in it in previous videos, and I've had to come back in the office because I'm terrible at organising my videos.
and I'm terrible at organising my videos because I couldn't remember everything that I needed your help with. So now I can see my computer screen. We'll get back onto it. As I said before, campsites, whether that is on the journey to Scandinavia or while we're in Scandinavia, any explicitly brilliant campsites, I want to know about them. I know that in Norway especially, and possibly in Sweden as well, there's like this big right to roam, you're able to wild camp thing going on, and there's even facilities in non-paid for places to help campers do that. If anyone can help us identify where the best ones are, or where any of them are, please go ahead. You know, we've googled a bit, but we're still struggling. General points of interest. Now remember, we're taking 3 dogs with us, so to say, oh, go and have a nice meal in the middle of Oslo, it's not going to happen. We can't leave the dogs for any length of time, and I'm sure they won't be welcome because they'll be eating everyone else's food. So you know, this is rural, this is country, this is dog friendly places only. Hiking, we would love to be able to go and do some great hiking. I don't care which part of the country it's in, just anywhere that's good. Sorry, you can hear this that's going on right now. What are you doing? What are you doing? Right, always interrupting. Always interrupting. So, yeah, hikes, again, you know, nothing, no cliff edge stuff, because again, got to get 3 dogs through it, but nice, long, preferably wide path hikes would be amazing, woodland and mountain alike. And then this kind of going on to the more specific things that you might need to ask your friend who knows a friend who knows a friend about, if you'd be so kind, is so we want to know where we can run our dogs. Now we're going to go at the end of April. I don't know what the snow situation is going to be like up there. My anticipation is that lower down there'll be none, and there'll be a bit as we get higher up. If there's any way that you think we'll be able to go and definitely run our dogs on snow during that kind of time of the year, I'd love to know about it. And if you can put us in touch with anyone who will be able to facilitate us running our dogs, i.e. provide some sort of equipment. I mean, obviously we'll take all our own harnesses and lines and stuff like that, but at the minute, if it's not a guaranteed, I don't see us taking a sled. We might invest in a kick sled, which is small and compact, but we're still going to be limited on space in the van, so unless it's a guarantee, I still don't really want to do it. And then if snow at that time of year is just not going to happen, then where can we run our dogs with the bike? Not decided if we'll take a bike, we'll try and rent a bike. Again, open to suggestions. If we do decide to take a bike, it's going to have to be on a bike rack a lot of the time. I wouldn't normally do that because we've got a van, but again, given that it's an expedition, we don't have the space inside. If I take one of my bikes on the bike rack, they're nice bikes, are they going to be safe? And I'm sure that crime is way, way lower there, even in the cities, than it is in the UK. But even so, is it recommended? Now, we're not going to go do the cities, I don't think, and for short periods of time I could probably get the bike inside the van, you know, if we were leaving the van while we went for a hike with the dogs or something like that. But kind of as we're travelling and during the nights, it's going to have to be on the outside if we take it. I've not even got a bike rack yet because we don't use it here. Speaking of, if anyone's got a Bond or transporter, wants to recommend a really good rack, to be honest, I only need to carry 1 or 2 bikes at a time max. I don't need a big 4-bike thing. What I'm thinking is more, you know, I need something that's really well built and is more secure than anything else, and still obviously gives us access to the doors. That's my limitation on that one. And really, that's it. So campsites, points of interest, places to hike, places to run the dogs on bike or sled. What's the snow situation going to be like? And if I decide to take a bike, is the security good enough? That's everything for now. I'm going to do another video real soon about everything to do with the van, but the mods that are on it, what's going to be coming on it, and maybe asking for some opinions of what I should be doing to it. We'll take it from there. Thank you very much. If you could share this with your travelling friends who've been to Scandinavia, if you can share this with your Scandinavian friends who love the outdoors and might be able to recommend something to us, please do it. We are talking Denmark, Sweden, Norway, and hopefully Finland, although I'm currently struggling with the mileage options on that one, but if we can do it, we absolutely will. That's everything for now, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.